Hello, friends. This is Confessions with Amy, and I'm glad you're visiting my channel. Here we share new confessions every day.
Her body wasn't fully awake yet, but there was something vaguely wrong in the air. Usually the morning started with the rumble of the coffee machine and the clink of dishes, my rituals. The house was quiet today. I got up and walked barefoot across the cool wooden floor. The aroma of coffee and freshly baked waffles wafted out of the kitchen. That's not Jason's style. He was sitting at the table. He was smiling. The cups were already set out, steam rising in a steady trickle. "Good morning," he said, without looking up from the phone. "I made you some coffee. Special today. A new variety. Think you'll like it." I stopped. Everything looked perfect, but too perfect. Jason never made me coffee. He said that he could ruin the magic of the morning. His words. And he was usually annoyed in the morning, especially on weekdays. "A new variety?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. He nodded, finally looking at me. There was a strange softness in his eyes. Almost regret? I went to the table and carefully picked up my mug. I sniffed it. The smell of coffee, yes. But there was something else hidden beneath it. Bitter. Chemical. Almost metallic. My heart thumped in my chest like a hammer. I knew the smell, not by experience but by intuition. Something was added. Before I could say anything, Irina burst into the kitchen. Jason's sister. "There," she said, grimacing. "Just the two of you for coffee again. They won't even offer it to me? Ever since we met, Irina has done everything possible to make me look like a stranger. Disdainful looks, passive aggression, random remarks in front of his parents. Like it was all her scene and I was a temporary extra who was going to be removed soon." I looked at her, then onto the mug, and suddenly, something inside me worked, like the click of a fuse. I smiled. "Take mine," I said, holding out the mug. "I'll make myself another one. I'm sure you'll like it." She looked at me, narrowed her eyes as if she was about to say something sarcastic, but then to my surprise she just took the mug. "You're finally useful," she murmured and took a sip. I watched her take a sip. Gradually. First, second sip. She even chuckled. Not bad. Bittersweet. But it's refreshing." I didn't feel angry or relieved. Only a strange, icy clarity. Everything slowed down. I could see the way Jason was looking at her. His face paled, as if the color had gone out of his skin. He knew. He understood. 37 minutes passed. She collapsed in the bathroom, hitting the sink. She frothed at the mouth. I called an ambulance. She answered the doctor's questions confidently, without stuttering. Yes, she had coffee. My husband prepared it. No, I didn't complain, I just suddenly felt bad. They took her away. Jason was standing next to her, silently, clenching his fists as if he was afraid of falling. I turned to look at him as the ambulance door slammed shut. Our eyes met. He didn't say a word, but there was panic in his eyes, and fear, because he knew I wasn't just alive. I know. I never thought the silence could be so deafening. When the ambulance door slammed behind Irina and the siren went off into the distance, our house seemed to freeze. Jason stood by the window, unmoving. I walked past him into the kitchen and picked up my mug, the one that was meant for me. She poured the coffee down the sink, slowly, ostentatiously. He didn't even turn around. "What are you doing?" "What is it?" he finally asked. "I don't feel like coffee," I said quietly. "It's a strange day." He was silent for a long time, and then he said, "You think it's the coffee?" I turned around. Our eyes met. He studied my face like an investigator might study a suspect. But I held on. "What else?" I asked without flinching. He didn't say anything. He just turned away. He left about 2 hours later. He said he had to visit my parents. I knew he was going to the hospital, check if she's still alive, and maybe try to hide something. I was left alone. For the first time in a long time I felt not fear but control. I walked around the kitchen. I opened the trash can. Empty. He threw out anything that might indicate coffee. Coffee packaging, new unknown brand. I took the leftovers out of the coffee machine and carefully put them in a plastic bag. It might come in handy. I went into his office. No noise. He always had a password on his laptop, but the desk drawer was unlocked. There was a small box in the inner compartment. Without marking. With a black lid. I opened it. The smell hit me. It's the same as the morning coffee, but sharper. Metallic, like the smell of broken batteries. I didn't know what it was, but my heart was pounding. It was it. I took pictures. I closed the box. I put everything back in its place. I was shaking. I sat on the edge of the bed. She covered her face with her hands. He really wanted to kill me. This is not a fantasy. Not suspicion. This is reality. Later, in the late afternoon, Jason returned. She's in intensive care, he said, as if he were talking about the weather. The doctors don't understand anything. Allergic reaction, maybe I ate something. It is being analyzed. Everything is complicated. I nodded. I pretended I didn't know he was lying. You did. Don't blame yourself? He asked. His voice was oddly soft. Why should I? I didn't make her drink. She took the mug herself. He looked at me for too long. And then, for the first time that day, I felt real terror. He's still around. He sees that I'm alive. Means he can try again. I didn't sleep all night. Jason snored beside her as if nothing had happened. As if he didn't have death in his coffee mug. I lay still, feeling the cold from the window creep up my legs, and my thoughts were like gray rats gnawing at my insides. He tried to kill me. This thought was repeated by the rhythm of my heart. But why? Money? A woman? Hate? Or was it just that I didn't fit in with his plans anymore? I got up before him the next morning. I made coffee for myself this time. I tried not to think about what I was pouring into the mug. He got up later. He said that today he will have to work from home. Another strange decision. He always preferred the office. There are, as he said, fewer distractions. I nodded. I said that I would go to the market. I had to leave to act. After circling the area, I returned without being noticed and entered through the back door. He was in the study. I was on the phone. I stepped closer. The voice was muffled but clear. And cold. Yes, she's home. So far, he's behaving as if he doesn't understand anything. But if he starts digging, he should act quickly. Are you all set? Pause. No, there are no footprints. All clear. My sister just intervened unsuccessfully. My breath caught in my throat. I stepped back. The floor creaked. I barely made it to the living room, grabbed a magazine and pretended to read it. He came out a minute later. He looked at me. I felt him scan my face. I smiled. Everything okay? I asked. You seem tense. It's all right. Just a job. I see, I said and took a sip from my mug. I don't have to show fear. Not yet. When he left for the kitchen, I hurried to his office. Yesterday I searched too superficially. Now deeper. The laptop had the same lock. But on the flash drive that protruded from the rear port, I found a folder. Hidden information. The name was innocent. Taxes 2022. I copied it for myself. Just in case. I opened it right there. Inside photos. First the usual ones, documents, payments. And then screenshots of correspondence. WhatsApp. With a woman named Marla. The dialogues were encrypted with half hints, but between the lines you could read. How fast will it work? No more than an hour if the dose is correct. She won't guess. If you do everything we said, no. I need my freedom, Marla. I can't go on living with her. I felt my fingers tremble. He didn't just want to kill. He had planned this. With someone. It was deliberate cold work. I heard him coming back. She quickly closed the folder. I pulled out the flash drive. I dropped it in my pocket and went out to meet him. I thought maybe we should go see Irina. To the hospital, I said calmly. He froze. Then he nodded. That's a good idea. Let's see what the doctors have to say. He still believes I don't know anything. And I knew this was my chance. I can make it to the end. Find everything. Expose it. But I need to play better than him. Hospitals always smell the same. A mixture of disinfection and lost hope. But the air was particularly heavy that day. Jason and I entered the building in silence. He was cool, almost indifferent, as if he were going to the bank, not to the ICU to see his barely alive sister. Irina was in the intensive care unit. The machines beeped with regular urgency, infused drugs into her body, dampened the pain, kept her heart in rhythm. She looked awful, pale and swollen with black eyes. But she was alive. She's still in a medically induced coma, the nurse said. We are trying to stabilize the pressure. The swelling in her brain has subsided, and there's a chance she'll wake up. Jason stood looking at her through the glass, nodding. Too fast. I could see his hand shaking. Not out of fear, but because she wasn't dead. If Irina wakes up and remembers, it's over. We went back to the car. He started the engine but didn't move. Do you think she'll survive? What is it? He asked, not looking at me. I hope so, I said. She was looking straight ahead. Not a drop of emotion. He chuckled. Easy. Almost fun. That's funny. All your life you've hated each other, and now you're hoping. Maybe because I don't want people to die in front of me. He started the car and drove out of the parking lot without a word. Later, when he left for a meeting, and in fact, most likely to Marla, I sat down again at the laptop. I plugged in the flash drive and started digging further. Inside the folder, I found something new. A PDF file with scans of documents. I didn't know what it was at first. And then I realized. Attorney. In case of my death. Signed by him. Dated 3 weeks ago. In the name of Marla Lewis. In the document, she was listed as the closest trusted person. All assets, the house, bills, life insurance were transferred to her until the official inheritance process was completed. My hands were shaking. It wasn't just cheating. It was a betrayal on a cellular level. He planned my death with cold calculation. Marla isn't just a lover. She was a partner in crime. I typed it all out. Every page. I packed it in an inconspicuous envelope. Then I did what I'd been putting off all morning. I went to see a lawyer. He was an old acquaintance of my family. Honest, paranoid, very meticulous. Exactly what you need. Mrs. Hall, he said, looking at the papers. You have a very serious situation. This is an attempted premeditated murder. And the documents you showed me clearly confirm this. He put down the papers. But if you apply right now, it will disappear. And the evidence won't be enough. You need to push it to error. He should try again. I nodded. I already knew that. Help me get this right. Everything I say and do must be on the edge. But don't cross it. He smiled. For the first time in a conversation. We'll start today. And you know, you're much stronger than you look. When I got home, Jason was in the shower. I went into the bedroom, quiet as ever. There was his phone on the nightstand. On screen. Message from Marla. Are we doing this tomorrow? She shouldn't survive another cup. I picked up the phone. I took a picture of the message. Saved it. Removed the traces. I put it back. Then she sat down on the bed. I started writing a plan. How I would let them try and how it would end. I stayed up the night before their day. I lay next to Jason in the dark, listening to him breathe, like a thief breaking into my own house. I knew he'd try to kill me in the morning, and this time no mistakes. And yet, I wasn't afraid. I was ready. I was the first to get up at dawn. I turned off the hidden camera in the hanging lamp above the kitchen to make sure that everything was being recorded. I checked the recorder in the book on the shelf. Everything works. Installed the day before, they record everything. I dressed as usual. I put the coffee to boil, his coffee, not your own. He walked into the kitchen at 7:08, wearing a t-shirt and a lazy smile. You're especially nice today, he said. I just want to start the day well, I said and turned to face him. It's Friday. He sat down at the table. I handed him the mug, the one she supposedly prepared for herself. He held it up to his nose, and at that moment I saw him appraise the smell. Eyes that don't look at your wife. And on the target. Would you like to drink first? What is it? He asked too politely. Picked up my mug. She pretended to take a sip. Not a drop, really. I pre-filled the bottom with a spoonful of regular coffee and poured out the main part. The cup seemed full. He nodded, pleased. He sipped it himself from another glass. Not this time, Jason. Not today. After 20 minutes, 2 people entered the house. They were in plain clothes, but they carried themselves like pros. The lawyer sent a signal to the police in advance, and we agreed on the operation. Jason Hall. The man held up his badge. We have a search and apprehension warrant. You are suspected of attempted murder. Jason stood up as if he were slowly sinking into boiling water. His face went white. Her lips trembled. What? You? This is some kind of mistake. We have videos, messages, documents. And the witness is your wife. He turned to me. You? I smiled. I was just pouring you some coffee, Jason. He ran for the exit, but the officers intercepted him, pinned him against the wall. One of them handcuffed me, and the other took out the tape recorder I'd planted in the kitchen. We have everything we need. An hour later, I was in the hospital. Irina woke up. Weak, tired, but alive. She looked at me and whispered, "It was him, wasn't it?" I nodded. We sat in silence for a few minutes. And then all of a sudden she said, "I've been terrible to you. All my life." I took her hand. "But you're alive because I once decided not to keep quiet." We both smiled wearily but sincerely. And in that moment I knew. I survived. And I won. A month later, Jason was formally charged with attempted premeditated murder with extreme cruelty and conspiracy. His mistress, Marla, was arrested on the same day, as she was leaving the bank, where she was trying to cash out an insurance policy. I filed for divorce. I sold my house. I moved to the coast, rented a small cottage with an ocean view. And every morning now I make coffee. Myself. For myself. From a single mug. With a transparent bottom. No secrets.